Everyone, Cam Roberts here. Thank you for joining the live. And if you're watching the replay, welcome aboard the live streaming session. On today's Tuesday live stream, we're talking about all things wealth and property. And I have my good friend and good friend and real estate authority and expert and multi-millionaire Trent Giumelli. Trent, thanks for coming on the live stream.
Thanks, Cam.
Now, on today's live stream, I thought I'd done a little bit of research, as I always like to do before we do any type of live stream or recording with guests. And I jumped on the internet and just thought I'll look and see what's relevant at the moment. And one of the things that popped up was an article about Aussies attraction or love affair with property. So I thought on today's call I'll put you on the hot seat and maybe we can talk about why do Australians have that love affair or that affinity with property? What is it that attracts everyday Aussies to invest or get involved in somehow with property and real estate to build wealth?
Yep, mate, great question. I hear it all the time. Look, it's the whole touch and feel is the main thing, but the other thing is it's been ingrained with us for such a since we're all kids. Property allegedly doubles every 7 to 10 years. All that sort of stuff is built into us early on. And that's the main affiliation. Obviously, you can make absolutely tons of money in property when you know what you're doing. And it's just that, we all have to live somewhere. All that sort of stuff comes into it. We want to have investment properties. We want to look good and, have a financial security and all that as well. So all that plays into it. But it's just one of those things that innately from birth, it's just pushed into us, very, very early on through the media, through family, everyone in between.
And you study wealth, to a great degree. Do you see that any different to say, markets like America or England or Canada, our kind of neighbours throughout the globe, or is it an Australian thing particularly?
Oh, that's a great question. Canada and Australia are very, very similar. The States somewhat, not so much. America's a bit different. It's one of those things that they're not so wholly and solely just built in, have that ingrained thing within them since younger, childhood, whereas Canada does. The UK is a bit the same, but they sort of don't care as well. So, yes, they do. Everyone wants to buy in the French Riviera and all that sort of stuff. Well, I certainly do. But it's such a beautiful thing. But property is just viewed a bit differently in Australia, and as I said, it just comes from that early on. Your grandparents, your parents, and all that have made a lot of money in that instance as well in this market, and everyone else wants to do the same thing.
Yeah. Now, I guess probably the two most common ways of investing, I guess you could say, in real estate and property in Australia would be, traditionally, most people are either going to buy and hold and rent it to someone, or they're going to, do the same thing but negatively gear it and hope the government gives them enough money back so they kind of, break even or go somewhere near break even. Other than those two models, which are, I know you teach people as outdated models for making money out of property and can be quite costly. So can you talk about, those outdated models being a buy and hold and negative gearing versus some of the newer ways to make money out of property?
Yeah, sure. Buy and hold, as it sounds, you're buying and you're holding. I call it buy and hold and hope. So you buy it, you hold it, and you hope for growth. You don't always get growth. So it's one of those things. So you've got a very, very big expense that you're trying to maintain as you're going. You might have tenants in there and all that, but you've got to then manage the tenants. You've got to manage an agent. You've got to manage everyone in between. So that's number one. Negative gearing is a very interesting concept. Unless you're on a big wicket, where you're paying more than 42 cents on the dollar. Negative gearing traditionally is, and that's what was ingrained in me when I first started. Because the way it used to work is, negative geared used to have higher growth, positively geared used to have lower growth. That was the sequence of events back then. That all got changed around the GFC. It was all thrown upside down and everywhere in between. So, you now can have growth and positive income doing things like dual occupancies and granny flats and everything in between. But there's better. That's still on the buy and hold and hope model. Doesn't matter which way you look at it, it is. And if you're buying a property for a tax write-off, it's not a great idea. Whilst there are people out there that do okay at that, it's not ideal, because when the market turns and goes the wrong way, you're going to be significantly out of pocket. That's what happened to me back in 2008. So I had all this property at the time. It was negatively geared. I ended up sacrificing about 80% of the portfolio just to move back into that positive cash flow scenario, because you're constantly just chasing your tail.
Yeah, right. Yep. And so
some other options. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so what are some of the other options that are available for people?
Yeah, so other options, you want to look at positive cash flow, buying something for a positive gear and a positive growth. You might want to look at getting into something like we do, which is the warehouses stuff. Self-storage works well. Retail, I'd probably stay away from with a 10-foot barge pole at the minute, just given what's going on. However, that will recover at time. There are reports, actually, one came out of Sydney just recently, that a lot of workers actually want to get back into the office environment. So I think you will get a marked improvement on that. That was through hotspotting.com. So there's going to be some significant changes over the way the landscape's going to look moving forward. But for us, I mean, what we do and do really well is the light industrial warehouses, or what I term man caves, and the self-storage. It's all about cash flow. That's all it comes down to. We're not reliant on growth. We make our own growth by buying a block of land and sticking 30 dwellings on it. So we don't have to wait for the market to do whatever it needs to do. We make our own growth.
Yeah.
So it works well.
Yep. And what sort of returns, if people get involved with, what you're doing in the man cave model, what sort of returns do people historically see in that particular model that, they can get involved with you?
So we've our historical returns and payouts have been anywhere from 25 to 35% return on a project. It's typically over 8 months. That's now changed in the sense that we've been able to partner up with a fully approved AFSL fund, where they're paying an interest rate as they go. So it's 5% per annum interest rate, paid quarterly. So that keeps the cash flow going, which is the key part to it all. And then the returns are paid on the end. We've had some payouts that have been upwards of 50%, 40%, but our average is typically 25 to 35% return on cash. For the folk out there who want to do the math, very simply, on 100 grand, that's $125,000 to $135,000 back into your pocket once the project's done. Plus now, as I said, we've got the fund paying the 5% per annum as well, which is exciting.
That is exciting. And obviously, you've done really well in your market. And I believe that, with your man cave model, actually no clients have ever lost money. Is that true?
That is 100% correct. That comes down to ethics and values as well. We've never allowed for a client to lose their capital, and never will. It just doesn't fit well with me. So it's something I'm extremely proud to say to date. Because of that fact, we've been very, very what's the word?
Diligent,
consistent with what we do, and things do go awry here and there, and you have to be prepared for those type of things. That's investing 101. It happens, and I'm very, very proud to say that's the point as of today's date. So very excited, actually.
And so that's a really good model, and it gives people a lot of security, knowing that when they go into something, their capital is going to be preserved first and foremost, because that's not the case if you gamble almost on Bitcoin or stocks or anything like that. Right. You could lose what you invested in more, right?
Absolutely. And capital preservation is the biggest question we get all day, every day. Right. Clients want to make sure that they get in and everything's secure on their funds. Look, we all do. We don't like to lose. But yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, you put money into Bitcoin or Ethereum or Ripple or whatever you've got from a crypto point of view, and it's just all over the shop. You just don't know whether you're Arthur or Martha. You've got no control over it. Me personally, I've never had great success on the stock market. I've always lost money. That's because I don't quite understand it. I don't have the time to understand it to do that. But there's been other people that do quite well. But it is a gamble. It doesn't matter which way you look at it. The markets are manipulated by the powers that be, and it's great if it's on the rise and you're selling out on the rise, but it's terrible on the other side.
Yeah, I think that there's and I'll probably get it wrong, but there's a bit of a joke about the stock market, and you probably know it. It's something along the lines of, how do you make a millionaire out of the stock market?
Yeah.
Is it like you take a billionaire and let him invest in the stock market and he becomes a millionaire? So not entirely true, but it is a joke, right?
Jordan Belfort actually put it really well. If anyone's watched The Wolf of Wall Street, the only people who get rich are the brokers, full stop.
The wolves.
The wolves.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, we've talked about who makes the money in the stocks, the wolves, the Wall Street, right? And we've talked about capital preservation being the number one priority when people get involved with your group. What are some of the common mistakes you see people make when they go out on their own and, they try and make money with real estate on their own?
Particularly in my game, people think they can do it better.
Right.
Is first and foremost. So 9 times out of 10, what happens is, and this got taught to me many, many moons ago, was if you get into development, the first 3 projects, you're more than likely going to lose your money. And it's just because you don't expect some of the things that come up, council, whatever in between. And typically what they do is they underinflate, the costs and overinflate the sales. And there's a really great thing that I always say, which is you always make your money on the purchase, never the sale. If you're buying too high up front, you're chasing it out the back, and it never works.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry, it rarely works. I shouldn't say never, because occasionally you get lucky. So it's that's the most common one we see. A lot of people buy property that's close to them. And mathematically it just doesn't make sense. So you're caught with a secondary property. Yeah, it might be down the street. You can touch and feel it, check on it, etc. But the market might be going up at 5% per annum. That thing's going up at 1%. So it's just, they're the common things that we see. A lot of people buy courses and things like that. Waste their money on those type of things. And there are some good ones. I'm not going to say there's not. But a lot of the time they just sit on them and do nothing with them. They might go and spend 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 on those things, and it'll lead to nothing.
Yeah, because that's a lot of money. If you're spending between 10 and 30K on a course with someone, then you've still got to go and learn how to do it, and then find the capital on top of that to do it with.
Absolutely. And that's what it all comes down to. And hello to all my competitors out there that probably don't like what I'm saying right now. But yeah, that's exactly that's exactly the point. I mean, you can go into a course to your heart's content. I learned to be a mechanical engineer. I never use it because I do what I love. It's the same thing. You can go out there, you can learn all the bits and pieces, you can get everything under the sun. At the end of the day, unless you apply it, it's not going to do anything for you. So, and that's where a lot of people get caught up. Yeah.
I guess it's the same. Like in my world, I'm a marketer, and we have a team of ninjas that do all sorts of stuff. And, it's like someone going and doing a Google course on how to run their own Google ads, or a Facebook course on how to run Facebook ads. It's almost like what you said about the stock market. And that was very interesting, how the wolves make all the money. It's almost the same with the courses. It's almost like, people need to be wary of people just selling those types of courses, because obviously they're making 20 grand per course, putting 100 people into that course, and they're making a lot of money out of that course, right?
I make a ton of money. There's a couple I could name, but I won't. They often sell bums on seats, and that's okay. That's their business model. But yeah, there's a lot of money in that, a huge amount of money in it, if you want to go down that route. But a lot of them don't lead to a lot of, if you want to get into this game or want to be a part of this sort of stuff, it doesn't teach you or doesn't give you the nous to get into it. You've just got to pull the shovel out and get started and crack on. And that's how it works. You've got to develop a never say die attitude as well, because things get thrown at you left, right, and center. You just got to get the baseball bat and get going, or the cricket bat, whatever it is. And just bash it all away. There's a lot of things in the property game that you've got to be aware of. If you're a newbie, seek advice from people that know what they're doing or have been professionals. One of the things, I was actually just on the phone to one of the funders just earlier. This is very interesting with the point of everything. So right now, it's nearly impossible to get funding under $5 million.
Right.
Sites. And it's almost impossible to find sites at that level right now because of the market conditions. So you get to 10 million, the funding opens right up. you get to 100 million, it opens up again. So it's interesting how the dynamics of it all work.
Yeah. Okay. So, if someone goes and buys a course, they've got to then find the funding, right? And then do all the hard work. So, which is different to what you offer people. You offer people a not lift a finger income, like the opportunity to get those returns without learning the course, without, waiting 2 years to, learn how to do it themselves and run the risk of, projects over costing them lots of money and that sort of stuff. So what are some of the opportunities that you have available in your group at the moment for people that might be watching this and they might be interested and then, thinking about maybe getting in touch with you? What are some of the opportunities that are available?
So I've got a couple at the minute. We've got a couple of warehouse and self-storage developments going on that are filling at the minute. They're in different locations around the country. There's opportunities where you can get in. Minimum is $50,000. There's no maximum. It's up to you what you want to do. So we get a lot of clients that come in, at that level. We get most of our clients are sort of that 200 plus marker. But the benefit of it all is, if you're going to do this on your own, you might go and put $1 million into a project and you're quarantined to that project for the life of it. So, you might put $1 million in and it might take 2 years. All your capital is in there. Whereas the stuff that we offer, you're able to spread it across. And the security, is mortgage security. So it gives people a lot of comfort in knowing that, okay, I might have a couple of $100,000 or whatever it might be, but they can stagger that across, 2 or 3 or however many projects they'd like to do over the life cycle of them. So we open it up pretty much to most who have, we obviously vet our clients as well. But, from a client's perspective, there's endless opportunities with what we're doing working with a company like us. From the perspective of, taking the risk out of it, that's what we try to do and make it work for everyone involved.
Excellent. And for someone that wants to, take that next step and have a conversation with you, what is that next step? What have they got to do next?
So if people want to take up the opportunity, we can book a cash flow consult with me for $1. The reason I charge $1 is it shows there's commitment there. It shows you're willing to show up for the meeting and stuff like that. We get a lot of people that waste obviously a lot of time. So we do that. And the 3 things we go through are basically how to set your goals. What goals have you got? What do you want to achieve? Where you want to be, etc., etc. Have you got a family, etc., etc. Are you chasing passive income or anything like that? How that works. And then we basically give you a 3-step plan to move forward. It's all for $1. It works really, really well. It allows us as well as the clients to vet each other, so to speak, ask all the hard questions, go through the bits and pieces, and you'll come out. You'll either like it or you hate it. There's no in between. It's either you want to or you don't.
Yeah.
It really is that simple. Yeah.
Okay. So what I've done, Trent, I've just grabbed that link for you and I've posted it in the comments as well. So if you're watching this later on, just have a look at the comments below. Click the link there. You'll go to a page where you can pop in your details. And after you do that, you paid your $1. Trent will be in touch and one of his team will be in touch to line up a time. And then they'll go from there.
We'll have a chat about it and go through all the fun stuff.
Excellent. All right. Well, Trent, thank you very much for sharing your wisdom again on wealth and property. I look forward to next Tuesday's call as well.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure, my friend.